Service states of Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota, Ohio, and Michigan. And the purpose and goal of the SBTRC is to support DBEs in the region, right? Offering individual support so they can increase their capacity, so they can competitively bid on federal contracts, right? We do that a lot through one-on-one work and really identifying the strengths and weaknesses that the DBEs have. Again, building their capacity so they can competitively bid on contracts. We also offer a bonding education program. This we do in collaboration with the respective Department of Transportations in the region, talking about everything related to bonding. And they get to meet bond surety agents, underwriters, as well as all the other people involved within the bonding process, and then some, connecting them with the SBA, Ptac, so that they can benefit from the services these agencies provide as well. And the last part of the small business transportation is the Witty Program, the Women in the Transportation Industry, again, whose goal is to increase the participation of women within this industry. We are kicking it off right now. So if there are any firms out there that are looking for an intern, we reimburse up to $3,000 for experiences for interns at a DBE that is doing work related to the transportation industry. If you'd like to learn more about this and the other programs we have, please feel free to contact me again, Jacob Perez. Thank you for your time. And with that, I'll turn it over to Angie Alonso.
Thank you, Jacob, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So my name is Angie Alonso, and I manage the Ptac program at IHCC. So Ptac stands for Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and this program is a federal one that is dedicated to help businesses enter and navigate government contracting at the local, state, and federal level. So anybody that is interested in selling their products or services to the government can reach out to your local Ptac. Our focus is especially the Latino and minority community. However, we have our doors open to everyone. So feel free to reach out to the chamber and request an appointment with us. Some of our services include one-on-one counseling. This is confidential. We host training events and webinars on procurement topics, just like we are doing today. In partnership with Metra, we have done it with several agencies. We also provide certification assistance for MBE, WBE, DBE, Hubson, 8A. So all the certifications that are on the government space at the local, state, and federal government. We also support people during their vendor registration and portals like the SAM.gov, CPS, Metra, all of those. And we also help with bid understanding and bid feasibility. So if any of those ones are some topics that you are interested in learning more about, or if selling to the government is one of those things that you have planned in the near future, please let us know, reach out to us. And yes, like we like to say at the chamber, we are here to help. And with that, I will pass it to Adriana. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Adriana, and I'm the DBE Certification Specialist with Metra. If you give me one quick second, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so first off, I wanted to thank the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for giving us this opportunity to come out today and participate in this workshop and give you a little bit more information about DBE certification. During this workshop, presentation, I'll be talking a little bit about what DBE certification is, how do you qualify, and what are, we'll go through the application, give you some pointers, because we have seen that a lot of vendors and a lot of firms sometimes get a bit overwhelmed with the length of the application or the requirements, but we want to make sure that you have a little bit of knowledge and kind of get that anxiety of submitting all the documentation ahead of time. That way it doesn't feel that overwhelming at the end. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. What is a DBE? So DBE stands for Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. Those are firms that are independently owned by at least 51% by what we call a socially disadvantaged individual. So those include women, Native Americans, African Americans, Hispanic, Asian Pacific Americans, and subcontinent Asians. In addition, the 51% owner's personal net worth needs to not exceed 1.32 million. And we'll talk a little bit more during a couple slides in the presentation exactly what goes into the 1.32 million, what needs to be used to calculate that amount. These firms also need to be controlled by that 51% individual that is socially disadvantaged. Also, the last point is the size of a business. So these are small businesses, and you would need to review the Small Business Administration size standards in order to see if the specialty of your firm, they're designated by NAICS codes, if your specialty or your firm is underneath their threshold. Also, the firm needs to not exceed $28.48 million in gross receipts over the average of 5 years. And the organizations like the Ptac will be able to assist you in finding those resources to see what your size standards are or what your NAICS codes are in the event that you don't have those already available. So another important point that we wanted to make, I know that there's a lot of certifications out there, DBE, MBE, WBE. Each certification is slightly different. The DBE certification is for transportation agencies like Metra that receive assisted contracts for highway transit and airport projects. DBE certification also complies with the federal regulations 49 CFR Part 26. And those are some of the items that we will go through on the application because they're very specific regarding what the needs are that we look through when we review your application. DBE certification is also a free certification. So once you have submitted everything, you only need to submit the paperwork and we reviewed it at no cost. The MBE WBE is for state and local government contracting authorities. One thing I wanted to point out is that if you are already MBE WBE certified, you have a lot of the documentations that are required for a DBE certification. So we just asked for a couple additional items. So it makes it easier to receive that DBE certification if you have everything already put in place. The reverse, if you get DBE certification first, a lot of those items are what you require for MBE, WBE certification. So it makes it a little easier to put everything together. Once you receive DBE certification or are DBE certified with any of these agencies, Metra, PACE, the City of Chicago, Illinois Department of Transportation, or the CTA, there's no need to go through a DBE certification process with any of the other agencies. It's reciprocal. Metra would just be, let's say you submit your documentation to Metra. Metra will be considered your host agency, and we hold the records of your firm and your files. But all your information, along with everybody else who has received DBE certification in the state of Illinois, will be placed in the Illinois Unified Certification Program directory. That is where firms and other agencies look at your information once you have received your DBE certification. The advantages of receiving DBE certification, like I had mentioned previously, your company is listed in the Illinois UCP DBE vendor directory, where individuals and other firms, prime contractors, other DBE firms look at and find individuals that are DBE certified in order to fulfill a DBE goal. You are able to participate in a federal funded or assisted project that has a DBE goal as a sub, or sometimes it's a prime contractor, depending on the contract. Metra does offer a seal, like you see here, this white seal, that you can use as your marketing tool. Other agencies might provide other seals or other marketing materials that you can use in your own firm marketing. I would really suggest that you reach out if you do have DBE certification, or if you decide to go with one of our sister agencies. You have now decided that you want to take the step and go ahead and submit for DBE certification. These are the steps that take in place once you have submitted your application. So the first step is that we receive your application and your personal network statement. We review it, review the supporting documents. This is the stage where we reach out to you in the event that we have additional questions or need additional documents from you. Once that initial review has taken place, the next step is that we conduct a site visit of the firm's business, which includes a tour of the facility and photographs are taken. This part, due to COVID, has been temporarily modified. In the event that you submit your application and the situation with COVID has not been resolved in some cases, we will adjust this to comply with regulations that are going on at this point in time. And then the third part is that once a final determination has been made, we would determine if the firm is eligible or not eligible for DBE certification, and those notifications will be sent via email. In the event that you do not have an active email, we will send them a regular mail. So we will contact you at the end to give you the determination if you have been DBE certified or not. This process takes between 60 to 90 days upon the receipt of all required documentation. So in step one, we reach out to you, request additional information, and that's where sometimes the length of time is extended because we have to go back and forth depending on the need of the firm. That is why we thank everybody who is present here, because that cut down a little bit on the time of us reviewing the application, because you already know what we're requesting ahead of time. We also offer one-on-one consultations if you have questions regarding your DBE certification and submitting the documentation. But organizations like the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce are also able to assist you in putting together your documentation in order to submit it, to cut down a little bit of your time for the review process. Currently, we offer the certification application on our website. You would go to Metra and then go through the main menu and are able to find our DBE program and DBE certification application. At this time, Metra does not have an online portal for you to submit your DBE application for us to review, but we do offer a writable PDF writable form, along with the option for you to submit your documentation via email, or if the documents are too large, we are able to give you a secure link in order for you to upload the documents. You would have to just reach out to our organization to take those steps for us to provide that link for you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is the first page on the DBE application. I'm not going to go through each section. I'm going to give you pointers because each firm is slightly different. So these are information that can be used for all firms at this point in time. If you have questions regarding your specific firm, you're welcome to ask them at the end, or you could go ahead and send us or Illinois Chamber of Commerce or Ptac questions, and we'll be able to follow up with you with any answer specific to your firm. So this is the first page, like I had mentioned before. One of the things that we request, our organization requests, is that you do not leave any blanks. If any of these questions are not related to you or your organization, we ask that you mark them NA or dash them or just put something that indicates that this is not applicable to you. The reason that we request this is that because sometimes it is a lengthy application, and sometimes you might have skipped something and didn't realize it, or you left something blank because you did not understand the question. So we want to make sure that everything that is here is correct, because you do notarize this at the end. So we want to make sure that the information that we are receiving is correct, or that we have answered all the questions, or that things here were not omitted on accident. The other thing that we point out is that we request that the contact person that is listed on page 1 or the first part of the certification application is the owner. The owner is the person who has 51% majority of the firm, and this contact information of this person is what is going to be listed in the Illinois UCP directory. So we want to make sure that that person is the president or the majority owner or whoever it is that is going to be the basis of the social disadvantage portion of the DBE application. We also offer, I offered here a link for the next codes that can be found on the government website. If you want to see what your next code is or what the specialty of your firm is, we request that you go to the census. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly or to Ptac, and they'll be able to narrow down which next code is best suited for your business. And another pointer regarding the next codes is that we do ask that at the point of application, you submit what your firm is doing at this time. So if you have plans in the future to expand and receive a construction firm and are looking to expand later to landscaping, we request that you only list your construction. Once you receive Dbe certification, then afterwards, once you start doing actual work in landscaping and have received all the equipment for landscaping, you're able to then submit an expansion for your certification. But at this time, we only review what the firm is currently doing, because that's how we are able to assess and certify that your firm actually does the work and has a specialty in what you're doing. So the equipment, the knowledge, contracts, we ask that you only list what the firm is doing. The next page on the application, a couple of pointers that I'll talk about is as owner of the firm, you're also considered an employee of the firm. So in question number 8, make sure you include yourself as an employee. You're a full-time employee of the firm, even if you do or do not receive any compensation at this time, you are considered an employee of your firm. If you do not have an affiliated firm, a lot of individuals leave this question blank. If you do not have an affiliated firm or another firm, make sure to mark that NA so we know for certain that you do not have any other firms that might be affiliated or that you have ownership in any other firm. Some firms might be co-owned or have another business within your organization or within that address that you provided on the first page. Make sure to list and explain any relationship between yourself and any other business that is located in the same area or in the same address that you have listed on page 1. One of the items that I would like to point out in section 3 of the majority owner is the initial investment. This initial investment is what you submitted to purchase the firm. It could be something as simple as for example, the first $100 you submitted to open a bank account. That would be considered your initial investment. A lot of these firms are incorporated in the state of Illinois or have an LLC. You would have submitted your documentation to and made a payment to the Secretary of State of Illinois in order to open this firm, in order to get those articles of incorporation. That would be considered your initial investment. We just ask that your initial investment, whatever the supporting documentation, matches the amount that you list here on your initial investment. So you go all the way back to when you first started the firm. In the event that your firm is more than 10 years old, you would have to, and do not have the records due to record retention plans, you would have to submit a notarized statement explaining that you no longer have those records for a firm. But this is only for firms that are over 10 years old. The other point on this page is to make sure that you list and explain any managerial work you do for any other firm. So if you have ownership in another firm, if you're currently working in another business, we would need to have that information and see when you work for that other firm, what are your managerial duties with that other firm, and when do you have time to work on the DBE firm that you're wishing to get certified. The next page is if you have any other owners. So if you're 51% owned by another individual, of 49% owned by anyone else, you would list that information of that other individual here. If you are 50% owned, you have two owners or more than one owner and they have all equal partnership, each individual owner needs to fill out one of these forms. We'll just go back to the basis of 50-50 ownership. If you have two owners that have 50-50 ownership, because there's no clear majority, each individual has to fill out a personal net worth statement, and each individual needs to comply with the social aspect. So they have to be a minority or a woman-owned business. They would fill out this information and give us, if the owner is, if you have a clear majority and the other owner is 49% or less, they do not need to fill out a personal net worth statement. They would just fill out this information here. The next page on the application speaks regarding control. So one of the things that we point out that sometimes individuals, or we see often that individuals omit, is this section, board of directors. If your company is a corporation, you are for our purposes, you are required to submit a copy of your bylaws. In your bylaws, you will list how many directors of your firm. That number for your corporate bylaws needs to match what is listed here on the application. So if you have one, usually just list yourself. If you have multiple, you would list that information here. If those individuals are not owners of the firm, but are just directors, you would have to provide us information explaining what, if they have any ownership, and if they do not, what are their roles within the company. We also ask that in the bottom page, there's a check mark list, checkoff list. You would list yourself as a majority owner of the firm. You would list everything on this first box. And then if you had any owners, any minority owners, you would list the information on the second box. If you do not have any minority owners, make sure to just mark an A so that we know for sure that there's no other ownership, even though you have listed everything else. Sometimes people omit that and forget to mark that NA. So make sure anything that does not relate to you, you mark it NA. The next page talks about all the other officers, directors, managers in the firm. So this is where you would do a check off of the other owners that are currently, or other directors that you have in the firm that are not necessarily owners of the firm. You might have other officers, other managers, key personnel, people who can make decisions for your firm. You would list that information here. If that is only yourself, you can mark that NA, or you could go ahead and list yourself and then what you do. Usually it's a double from the last page if you're the only one, so we just usually suggest NA, but you're welcome to put your information as well. The bottom, the next page on this is regarding your bank account, along with bonding information. So if you have a bonding or need of a bonding, there's, like Jacob had mentioned previously, there's assistance in order to get your bonding information, and then you would list that information here. Once you receive and are approved for a bond, you would list your aggregate limit and your project limit, and provide us a copy of your approval letter. In the next page, you would just list all your equipment. If you're a professional service firm, you do not need to list any equipment other than any specialty items that you use for your firm. But if it's just standard office equipment, you could mark this NA. If you're a construction firm, we ask that you list your biggest items that you have here: vehicles, any machinery, any heavy equipment. If you're manufacturing, any machinery, again, that you might have, and their current value. And then on the following page, we ask that you provide any, one of the major points that we want to list is list any current licenses or permits. If you are located in the city of Chicago, unless you are an engineering firm or have a state license, you're required to have a City of Chicago business license. So it's very important to list that City of Chicago business license here, along with your permit and your expiration date. Or if you have to have received a plumbing license, you would list that here. If you need a concrete license, a masonry license, I'm sorry, or a GC license, you would list that information here. Make sure that it is current and it has not expired. And then the last page, we do a list your current contracts. On this, if you do not have any current contracts at this time, you will mark under letter J, you will mark that at NA, and just provide any work that you have completed already. In the event that your firm is very new and you do not have any work at this time, we would need a statement from your firm explaining that you are very new and you don't have any work. It could also be that you're a landscaping firm and at this time you would have started some work, but let's say you submitted the application in the middle of the winter and you're a landscaping firm, you wouldn't have been able to complete any work at that time. So you would just submit to us a statement explaining that you do not have any current work. In order, the last portion of this is airport concession. If you are wishing to receive Acdbe airport concession, this is managed business enterprise certification, you would have to apply directly to the city of Chicago. The other agencies at this time are not processing initial Acdbe applications. And in order, what Acdbe is that you have a contract with the concessionaire at the airport or doing work at the airport. And the city of Chicago does those initial applications. So you would have to submit your documentation. But if you're not wishing to receive Acdbe application at this time, you would mark that NA, and then you would submit your application to one of our other, our Metra or one of our other agencies. The Dbe certification application, make sure that it is signed and it is notarized, the affidavit, and if there's more than one owner, 50-50% owner, each individual needs to sign and notarize this document. These are a couple of the items that are required for Dbe certification. The first set is required documents for all applicants, and then each section underneath it talks about if you're a corporation, a supplier, if you have a joint venture. Each of these items are required for our review. In the event that some of these do not apply to you, you would either mark them NA in a sheet and just say these documents do not apply to us. Like if you do not have a loan at this time, if you do not have any transfers of assets, if you do not have any other certifications, you're not, you would just let us know that those items are not applicable to you. We do need copies of your personal taxes and your federal taxes. Make sure those are signed, because that certifies that those are the documents that you have submitted to the IRS. One of the optional documents that we request that you submit with your application is the year-end balance sheet and income statement for the past 3 years of your firm, or the life of your firm. If your firm is less than 3 years old, we just request that you submit the length of time of your firm. If it's more than 3 years old, we would do our ask that you provide your balance sheet and income statement for our review. In regards to the personal network application, this is a separate application that you would have to download as well, in addition to the DBE certification application. And this is where you would, the majority owner of the firm would list all their assets and liabilities. This is specifically for your personal income, not your firm's, not your spouse's. So we request that you list if you have a spouse or a partner and your cash in your bank account is listed as a joint account. We ask that you only list your portion or the value of your portion here on this application. Due to the federal regulations, your real estate excludes your primary residence. So you do not need to list the asset, the value of your primary residence, or any liabilities regarding your primary residence, like mortgage or line of credit regarding your primary residence. We do ask that you list your business interest in any other firm that you have ownership in. So if you have an affiliated business or you have another firm that you have ownership, please list the value of that firm. Meaning, if you were to sell that firm at this time, what would be the value of your business interest in that firm? If you have 100% ownership, that would be a complete value for you. If you only have 10% ownership, you would only receive 10% of that value of that firm. Make sure that you calculate all your assets, all your liabilities, and then once you have your assets minus the liabilities, that would be considered your net worth. In sections 2, 3, you would list any of your, in section 2, you would list anything that you owe to any banks, any credit cards, any personal loans. Again, these are loans that you are under your name, not the business names, not the spouse's names, these would just be your portion of what you owe. Again, section 3, you will list any 401k accounts, any IRA accounts, any investments accounts that are in your name and you would list their full value. In section 4, like I had mentioned before, we do not count the value of your primary residence, but we do ask that you list it here just to make sure that when we review your documentation, we confirm that this is your primary residence and not a separate residence. If you have more than one residence, and it could be out of the state of Illinois, it could be in Florida, you might have a condo in Florida or property elsewhere, you would list that information here. If you need additional, if you have more than 2 additional properties, you would provide that in a separate sheet for our review. In section 6 of the personal net worth statement, you would list any automobiles that you own or that are co-owned, and then you would just put your value. And then you would list any loans from you to the firm or to an affiliate firm. It could be your Dbe firm or any other firm that you have loaned money to. In section 7 is where you would list your business interest in any other firm. you would list the name of the business and the value. Section A, you would list any other liabilities that have not been already listed prior. It could be student loans, it could be unpaid taxes, anything that you have that is a current liability that is under your name, you will list it here. Make sure, I know section 9, it's a bit small, but at the end of that, there's a yes or no question. Make sure you just check off yes or no. If yes, provide additional documentation. If no, there's nothing else that you need to do. Make sure that this personal net worth statement is signed and notarized. On the actual net worth statement, there's a small part that sometimes does not leave enough room for a notarized. It's okay if the place that you are notarizing your documentation provides a separate page that doesn't necessarily fit here. As long as the item is notarized and we can ensure that they are notarizing your personal net worth statement, it is okay to include it in a separate page. And we'll go through a little bit regarding the contracting opportunities. And if you, this is specifically for Metra. I know Angie had mentioned previously that Ptac assists in getting vendor registration with many agencies, Metra being one of them. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to Angie and be able to get assistance in registering as a vendor. I just would like to note that with us and any of the other agencies, you are not required to have DBE certification to bid on any contract that is currently available. The DBE certification comes specifically in place when you have a contract that has a DBE goal. You're not able to complete that DBE goal portion unless yourself or somebody on your team is able to cover that specific portion for that contract or project. You also have to be DBE certified at the time you submit your bid. So in the event that you find something on our website, it has a DBE goal, we ask that you start your submission. That's why we reach out to organizations and businesses like yourself to get DBE certification ahead of time so that you have that DBE certification ready for any contract that may be upcoming. Metra does have a separate SBE certification verification process. But I would like to inform you that if you are DBE certified with our agency or with any of the other partners within the UCP, IDOT, City of Chicago, PACE, you do not have to submit separate certification for SBE. You're automatically considered an SBE. So once you look at the documentations or bids available, if you are a DBE, you could submit a bid or a proposal for any SBE projects that are out there. And this is just a quick rundown because I know Angie is able to assist all of you if you have any questions regarding registering as a vendor. But this is a quick list of what you would, where you would go and how would it look to register as a vendor. We do ask that if you are registering as a vendor with Metra, you list the email that is either yourself, if you're the owner, or an email that would be accessible in the event that the employee registering is no longer with your firm. We say this because sometimes you stop receiving requests for solicitations or requests for bids from Metra because it's going to an email that is no longer active. So we just give the pointer to make sure that whatever email you're using is an email that is available and can be used by many individuals. Make sure that you include the correct NAICS codes related to your business to ensure that you receive the correct solicitations from our procurement department. So if you are a carpenter, make sure you list your correct NAICS codes. If you do concrete, make sure you list your correct NAICS code, because that is how you will be reached out to from our agency for upcoming bids. And that concludes my portion. I will send it back over to Jacob for any questions you have. Like I mentioned, thank you for participating and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Yes, and with that, let me check the chat real quick, see if we have any questions there, but thank you for those that were coming here, and we do have some here, Adriana, so
Sure.
let's see. If Dbe certification is denied, is the reason provided?
Yes, each agency provides you a reason for your denial. It also gives you a option for you to, once you receive your denial letter, it gives you an option to request a hearing within 20 days of receiving that letter if you feel that the reason why you were denied is not correct. But it does list the reasons why you were denied.
Fantastic. And is there a cost
No.
associated? No
Dbe
cost.
certification is a free certification.
Pre-certification, got it.
Yes.
And how long does the certification last?
So Dbe certification is lifelong. As long as you submit your documentation every year regarding your annual no change affidavit, and there's no changes in how you were originally certified, this is a lifelong certification. So you only lose it if there's any changes within your firm or if you do not comply with our request for information.
Thank you. And must I complete a DBE uniform certification application as well as a DBE personal net worth statement for each owner?
For the majority owner of each firm. So anybody that has 51% ownership, you would go ahead and submit this application, the certification application, along with a personal net worth statement. You would only need to submit more than one personal net worth statement if there is no clear majority of your firm, meaning if you are 50% ownership, then each owner needs to submit a personal net worth statement.
Okay. And do I need to pay to get vendor solicitations from Metra?
No, I get that is a free registration. You go ahead and register and you put your information in. And then once you receive your request for bid, you would go into our website and download the bid documentation to get more information as to when to submit the bids. But everything is a free registration, free certification, free additional information from us.
Awesome. And how long do you need to wait to reapply after denial? After you leave?
1 year. So if you have been denied certification and you did not go through the process of requesting a hearing, or it was still denied afterwards, you have to wait 1 year before you reapply. That's why we asked that you talk to your agencies and try to work through, because 1 year is a long time for you to wait to recertify.
Okay. And yeah, all right, last question. And with all the, now that you've been in this position for a while now, you know, and with your
Yes.
experience, what recommendation do you have for Dbe? What's like the common, you know, like that always that common problem, you know, or, you know, for those that are kind of doing it now, like, that they should plan for?
Sure. A lot of things that we see is it does take a little bit for us to review the file.
Okay.
But a lot of the common thing and why people do not end up receiving the certification is that they do not respond to our requests for additional information, or get a bit overwhelmed, or feel that we're requesting something and you're not able to provide it. They don't come to us, they don't ask us, they don't ask for additional time or clarification, and it ends up lapsing the time that we have to review your file, because we also have a certain amount of time to review your file within the regulation. So one thing that we see is that make sure you reach out to your agencies. If you're not able, or it doesn't apply to you, something that we're requesting, call us, reach out to us. we're always able to work with you to better understand what your business does, because each business is a little different.
Awesome. Oh, well, thank you very much, Adriana. Those were very good answers, and I appreciate your presentation. I learned a lot as well, especially like with the process at Metra and how they are involved in this. So thank you again for your presentation.
Sure.
So with that, I believe I'll send it back to Marisol, or if we're ever going to be concluding here, but that would be the end of the questions here.
I do see here there's one more. So I'll say it. So it says, we have come across non-minority male-owned businesses asking about DBE. What measures should they take to demonstrate economic disadvantage?
So that's a great question. We would need to talk to those individuals on a one-by-one basis, because we would need to see exactly what their reasons are for demonstrating their economic disadvantage. And then from those reasons they provide, we would ask for supporting documentation. So if you have any firms that are male-owned, that are non-minority, that are wishing to receive DBE certification, I highly suggest you reach out to our agency directly in order to be able to assist you with that further.
Great. Thank you so much, Adriana. Well, looks like that concludes our webinar for today. And I do want to thank everyone for being here present. I did go ahead and in the chat box, I put our contact information for everyone that was on the team on the webinar here today. Again, reach out with any questions, and thank you so much for your participation. We will have another webinar on, let me look really quickly because I forgot. It is on June 20th for just a follow-up webinar on the next steps, what to do with your DBE certification. And information will follow after this presentation. Thank you, everyone. And I did say good afternoon in the beginning of this presentation, but good morning, and enjoy your afternoon. Bye,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.